Hey guys, I'm Hugo. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we're going to be making vegan full English breakfast. So down here in the south of England, it's decided that spring is now officially over and it's going to go into drizzly, damp, autumnal weather. I don't understand what's happened to the summer, but we don't have that anymore. So, you know, there's nothing better that revives a drizzly Sunday or a drizzly Saturday morning than a vegan full English breakfast. You know, grease and salt and fat and carbs are just a winning combination to get you a little bit revived when you're looking outside and you're thinking, nah, don't want to be dealing with the day so far, or maybe you're feeling a little bit hungover from the night out before and you're thinking, oh god, I could really use something to boost me up. This is it for you. And today we're going to make a full English completely from scratch. We're going to make all the stuff. You're going to make some Seitan sausages, we're going to make tofu scramble, we're going to make tempeh bacon. We've got all of the goodies for you guys to enjoy. And yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be an epic video. I hope it's not too long. So let's jump into the recipe now. Okay, let's get cracking on making the vegan full English. With all of the stuff we're going to do today, there's quite a lot of component parts to this vegan full English. I'm going to timestamp it as always, so you can skip to bits that you want to see, like if you want to see the tempeh bacon, you can skip ahead to see that, etc. Cool, so let's make the Seitan sausages first. Okay, so into this food processor, we're going to whack in an onion and 4 cloves of garlic. Okay, so to the onion and garlic, I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, a tablespoon of tomato paste, a tablespoon of white miso. You can use brown, it doesn't really matter what miso you use. It just adds a little bit more saltiness and umami to it. And then I've got 185 grams of white rice that I've just cooked off, and I'm just going to put in. So you can use leftover rice or whatever you have in the fridge, doesn't matter, and it's a great way to kind of use up the rice. So we're just going to blitz this up until it's a slurry-like kind of texture. Right, you can see there that the rice is almost broken down. It kind of looks a little bit like rice pudding. Savory rice pudding. I'm not sure how good it would taste at this point. But into this food processor, we're going to add our dry ingredients now, which are a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of just sea salt, and then I've got 2 teaspoons of fennel seeds, which I've crushed in a pestle and mortar. You don't have to do that, but you'll just make the fennel taste a bit more universal throughout the seitan. And then I've got a teaspoon of freshly cracked black pepper in there as well. And I've got 30 grams of nutritional yeast, and the magic ingredient, I think 235 grams of vital wheat gluten, but I will confirm that because I can't remember exactly how much that is. And now we're just going to blitz this up again until it amalgamates. Okay, got a large sausage there of kind of seitan dough, and you really want this dough to be very stringy. It was going to be very sticky to use on your hands, etc. I've already got crap loads on my hands now. Great. Right, so now the dough is actually come together, what we want to do is wrap up our sausages so they start to resemble actual sausages. So we want to shape these into roughly, I think, 12 or so sausages. And so in order to do that, cut out some baking sheet or baking parchment that we're going to wrap these in. And the easiest way to cut these out to the desired kind of shape or sizes, you want probably about a 6 to 8 inch length, which I'm just going to fold over. And we're going to do this 2 more times so that I have 4 pieces. And then once that's done, I'm just going to slice this out. And then what you have is a nice handy guideline. There you can see that we're going to, cut across. Okay, now once we've got these 4 sheets, what we want to do is just repeat that process again, but this time we're going to fold those lengths into 3 even-sized pieces. Okay, once we've got our pieces of parchment done, you're going to take one of the parchments and place it on your cutting board or whatever, and then take about 2 tablespoons worth of your seitan kind of dough, and you just want to roll it in your hands until it resembles like a loose log or a loose sausage, about the length of the parchment, but leaving an inch each other side. Okay, and once you've got it molded to the desired shape, we're just going to roll it up, and then once it's rolled over, just twist the end either side until it's quite tight, so you can see that the seitan is being squeezed against the baking parchment. Okay, so I've wrapped up a nice tower of seitan sausages there, and everything in the kitchen is now covered with seitan dough. It's incredibly sticky. I would recommend keeping a tea towel on hand so you don't have to keep on going back and forth to the sink. Okay, so we want to whack all of these into a actually, before we do that, we want to grab some foil, regular kitchen foil, and place our sausages in an even line inside this baking foil. So you want to cover them in the foil and make sure they're nicely sealed up. It's a nice packet of sausages there. And then we're just going to place it into a baking tray. And then this is going to go into the oven at 100 degrees Celsius for an hour. And 30 minutes through, you're going to flip this over onto the other side so they get evenly cooked either side. Okay, it's going to go in now. Okay, so our sausages have been in the oven for an hour. I've taken them out, let them cool a bit, and then unwrap them by hand, and they're looking really great now. And in order to finish off the sausages, what you want to do is just fry them a little bit in some oil. And you want to do this when you need them, basically. So you can keep these sausages in the fridge, you can heat them up just on the frying pan, it works great. And you just want to hit the frying pan with about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, or just a neutral vegetable oil, doesn't really matter, over a medium to high heat. And then we're just going to toss in, a few of these sausages that we want for later, and you're going to fry them for about 3 to 5 minutes or so until the skins are really nicely golden brown color and they start to have a little bit of more texture on the outside. Right, now with the sausages roasting in the oven, I'm going to make our fried, or actually these are baked potato slices. So in order to prep these, we're going to slice the potatoes into 1 centimeter slices, and then place all of these potatoes into a pot of cold salted water. Bring to the boil and simmer for 2 minutes or so until the potatoes are al dente, or kind of fork soft. So now these guys are nicely parboiled and soft. What we want to do is throw in about 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil into the pan, the saucepan, and you just want to mix the potatoes so that they get evenly covered in the oil. Grab a decent sized baking tray, which I've just lined with some baking paper. You don't need to do that. It's just to save my trays a little bit because they're looking a bit worse for wears. And we'll just pour the potatoes onto the tray and just evenly arrange so they're not too crowded. The potatoes are nicely arranged on that baking tray. These are going to go in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. Now because I'm also cooking the sausages at this point point in time and I don't have two ovens, and I'm sure most of you guys may not have two ovens also, you can just throw these into the oven with the sausages as well, and cook them for a little bit longer. So it's at 160 degrees Celsius in there, and just cook it for about 45 minutes or so. You'll know when they're done because you'll have this lovely crisp potato circles that are really quite delicious looking. Okay, now we're going to make arguably the most important part of a full English, the baked beans. And yes, you can buy baked beans in the store, and yes, they are delicious. I do love Heinz baked beans, don't get me wrong, but making these baked beans is really, really simple. First thing we're going to need is, we're just going to whack a whole load of ingredients into a saucepan and just simmer it for 15 minutes. I've got here 4 cloves of garlic that I crushed earlier, 4 tablespoons of tomato paste, 80 ml of ketchup, 2 tablespoons light brown sugar, 400 ml of vegetable stock, and simmer for 10-15 minutes or so until it starts to reduce down a little bit. And after about 10 or 15 minutes of cooking, add in 3 tins of drained haricot beans and cook for another 5 minutes or so. Okay, after about 10 to 15 minutes of cooking, your beans should be nicely thick and cooked through. And what you're looking for is the beans shouldn't have really any bite when you eat them. You want them pretty soft. Anyway, the last thing to finish off the beans is just turn off the heat, and I've got a tablespoon of corn flour mixed with a tablespoon of water just to loosen it up into a slurry, and just throw that in and then just stir in that mixture, and that's going to thicken up the beans and make the sauce really gloopy. And there you go, looking nice, and I love beans. Okay, so now our roast tomatoes, which is going to add a really nice acidity to go against that greasy saltiness. I have here 300 grams of on the vine cherry tomatoes. I like to use on the vine cherry tomatoes just purely because they look good. So when you're doing presentation to like your mates or whoever you're cooking your breakfast for, they look quite nice on the plate. You don't have to do that. You can use just normal cherry tomatoes or just large generic Heinz kind of style tomatoes or beefsteak tomatoes. Just chop them up into slices, and this method still holds true and works. So what we're going to do is just place these tomatoes onto a small baking tray, and I'm going to cover them in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm going to add about probably about a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar over the top, and then we're just going to finish off with a good helping of salt, and this is going to go into the oven at 180 degrees Celsius for 10 to 15 minutes until those skins start to blacken and the tomatoes are nicely cooked. Okay, now moving on, we're going to make our tempeh bacon, and this is an amazing, awesome, savory way to enjoy tempeh. And so here I have got some slices of 200 grams of tempeh, which I prepped earlier, and they're rough to about a quarter to a half a centimeter thick. So what we want to do to make this extra crispy is, first of all, we're going to heat over a really high heat, about 2 tablespoons of just vegetable oil, and then you want to chuck in your tempeh slices. You cook this off for about 2 minutes either side of the tempeh until it starts to get really brown and crispy on the outside. Okay, once our tempeh is looking nicely golden brown like this, we're going to shove in our marinade, which is 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, 1 teaspoon of liquid smoke, which is optional, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And that's just going to go over the top of the tempeh and just move it around so it's evenly over the tempeh. We just want to coat that tempeh in all of this marinade and cook it off for another 1 to 2 minutes until it's really nice and like molassesy coloured. Right, once your tempeh bacon is looking nice and caramelized like this, we're just going to remove each of these pieces and put it onto a wire rack just to cool down. And as the tempeh bacon cools down, the sugar in the maple syrup is gonna solidify and it's gonna start to harden. And that's where you're gonna get it quite really crispy, etc. So this can just be kept on the side until needed, or if you want to heat it up again, just place in the oven for a little bit and just to warm through the pieces. But realistically, when it starts to cool a little bit, it's going to get a bit more crispy anyway, so don't worry too much about it cooling down. Okay, we're into the final stretch, and now we're going to make our scrambled tofu. So I've got here a block of firm tofu, which is around 400 grams, and I haven't squeezed out any of the water or anything like that. Don't worry, you can just leave it as it is. And let's place this into a small saucepan, and then just take a fork and just mash it against the sides until it resembles like a rough scrambled. Okay, when that's nicely scrambled like that, we're going to turn on the heat of the pan and just add in a tablespoon of vegetable oil, a tablespoon of white miso paste, a half a teaspoon of turmeric, and a teaspoon of garlic powder. And then let's just whisk all of that stuff together. And we're just going to cook this for 3 to 5 minutes until it's nicely soft and the tofu is heated through well. Okay, that's nicely cooked through. This is really great texture and consistency, very smooth, very soft, but still has a little bit of bite. Just season this with a little salt. And that's basically done. Very quick, very easy, and tastes delicious. All right, onwards. Now the final piece of our puzzle is the fried mushrooms. Now it can be a bit of a pain frying mushrooms. I don't know if this is the same for you guys, but you have to wait an inordinate amount of time for them to take up the oil and kind of reduce down. Now a winning strategy that I've found to reduce that time and stop you adding loads and loads and loads of oil to try and get them to cook off is providing this kind of water marinade to cook them in. And you basically reduce down all the water and add your flavors to the water so that it completely reduces down, cooks the mushrooms in the process, reduces the oil, and also reduces your weight for them to kind of reduce down. So here I've got 500 grams of sliced chestnut mushrooms, which I've sliced to roughly about 1 centimeter thick before. And I'm just going to shove this into a small pan. I'm onto the Le Creuset because I've not got many plans left after this epic feast. And I'm just going to shove in this, which is 150 ml of water, plain water, and 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And we're just going to shove that over the mushrooms. Just put it on a high heat, and then I'm going to cover the pan. And we're literally going to keep that covered for about 3 to 5 minutes until you start hearing it vigorously boil away, and remove the lid. Cook it all off until all of your stock or your liquid is disappeared. Cool. That's everything. Let's get everything together and we can plate up. Okay, here it all is. What an absolutely epic feast. We've got our potatoes, we've got our baked beans, we've got our tofu scramble, we've got our seitan sausages, we've got our fried mushrooms, we've got our roast tomatoes, we've got our tempeh bacon, we've got some extra farmhouse toast. I mean, this is looking absolutely delicious. Let's plate it up. There you guys have it, vegan full English breakfast. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and it wasn't too long, it wasn't too crazy. But you know, you don't have to make all of this crazy full English if you don't want to. Each of these different component parts, like the sausages, the scrambled tofu, the vegan bacon, they work great on their own, and you can just grab them for like a breakfast sandwich or something if you don't want to go full on grease salt fest. But I would urge you, if you're having a terrible morning and you're feeling a little bit hungover, this is gonna cure that, or maybe not cure that, but it'll make you feel a bit better. If you've enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more. recipe videos. I've got some great ones coming up that you guys are going to really enjoy, so be sure to subscribe to get those notifications or whatever. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I will get back to you ASAP with any queries or replacement ingredients. The full recipes, as always, are in the description. Check those out. There's more tips and tricks and stuff in there. So go to the site and get all the full recipe things, because it's probably a bit difficult for you to watch the video and prep the recipe at the same time. But that's all from me, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you very much.